Well, there's a lot of weird weather stuff going on right now as I film this, and there has been over the last year, and matter of fact, the year before that. So, if you want to hear my predictions for weather events in 2025, especially if you want to be prepared, oh my gosh, you need to listen. And just a reminder, seriously, I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm trying to prepare, all right? And oh, this is for entertainment purposes only. I will be having to speak in code here in this video because it's come to my attention that certain words I'd like to use, I cannot use on particular platforms. So work with me, people. So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, let me catch you up to speed. Currently, right now, there are a lot of news pieces going around social media talking about things that we associate with fog, okay? I'm not saying what it is or isn't, but there are reports that it's not what you think it is. I'm not a meteorologist. I'm not, a climate expert, okay? You decide for yourself. I'm not going to tell you what to think. Just connect the dots, okay? And yeah, I might not want to breathe stuff in that you don't really know what it is and where it's coming from. And side note, those lines you've been seeing in the sky, I don't know. I never had clouds like that when I was growing up. That's just me. I don't know. I guess it's a new thing, It But here we are. And there's a lot more people waking up over 2025 about this stuff because we've already got states like, I believe, Tennessee that has banned geoengineering. And I think with Uranus and Gemini and Pluto and Aquarius, we're going to have a lot more disclosures about geoengineering and weather modification. And I think as part of this great awakening, humanity is going to have their conscience raised to the reality that, yes, weather can be used for nefarious reasons. And we've kind of been waking up to this slowly over the last 2 years. People have been noticing that stories are not adding up having to do with natural weather events like what we saw out in Maui back in 2023. And people started talking about something that starts with a D and ends with a WS that I can't talk about on here. But you know what I'm talking about. And I am concerned that as Saturn and Neptune move into Aries, that we are going to be seeing more of these weather events that involve fires, wildfires. I'm also concerned that these events are going to come very quick with little or no warning, and it could overwhelm emergency workers, relief workers. And by the way, this also brings up issues with, early warning systems that mysteriously weren't working in Maui in 2023. And we saw some similar things going on with North Carolina, although that was more water related. And I will say water related events are really high on the possibility here in 2025, particularly when we're looking at March to May, as Saturn is in the final degrees of Pisces. And then when we get into hurricane season, which can start as early as July, but definitely by September, when we have eclipses that are really critical, the chance of having a weather event along with, Jupiter in Cancer at that time. And I'm talking like flooding. I'm talking about possibly sea levels rising suddenly out of nowhere. Beware that if you are living on one of the coastlines or near a riverway or a dam, and God forbid the infrastructure has not been updated in God only knows how long in this country, right? You need to be aware of your risks where you're located. If you are at risk of, drought situation, fires, prepare for that. If you are, like I said, in a coastal town or rivers are running through your town or the dams and bridges have not been updated, you need to really think about having an evacuation plan. Some of you are thinking, oh, Stephanie, that's way off over there in Hawaii or North Carolina. That's not affecting me. I'll be all right. Well, I think that whether we want to pay attention to these things or not, we're going to be forced to. And I do believe, I predict that communities all over America are going to start mobilizing humanitarian, feet on the ground efforts, because we have, again, been learning some very sober lessons about our emergency management agencies in the last couple years. And I'm sorry to say, I do believe there will be more disclosures coming out the first 5 months of this year about not only the technology enabling these kind of natural events, but also how they're managed. There's also a lot of energy indicating that the extreme weather events we're likely to experience are related to the air, and that brings us to this current issue of what is this with the fog? What is this with what we've been seeing out in the stratosphere that doesn't look like anything I grew up seeing? I mean, even people were talking about the sunlight this last summer and how it just was burning like they had never experienced it before. And I don't claim to know exactly what's going on. I just know that things aren't the way they used to be, okay? Call me a Gen Xer. But, you know, do you remember the weather being like this? And, you know, toward the end of this year, 2024, we've been witnessing things in the sky that, again, I can't talk about on certain platforms. I have to make sure not to use that word, but I do hear that people started calling them Dior bags. So, you know, whatever you want to make of that. Are they connected to the weather? Are they enabling the weather? I don't know. But I'm going to talk more about these Dior bags when I make my prediction for, you know, what's going to go on with warfare over the next year. And I'm very concerned that we're going to be seeing a lot more stuff going on in the air, whether we're talking about the airwaves or the stratosphere, the air we're breathing, the electromagnetics. Oh my gosh. If you want to hear more about that, make sure to give me a like, comment down below, and absolutely follow me for more. That said, you can do a lot to actually empower yourself. This doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. I do think, you know, humanity is waking up and taking action on a local community level to help and intervene. And I do think we're going to turn these things around. But in the meantime, you know, you got to really pay attention to the vulnerabilities of your location. And there's some cities, by the way, that might be targeted by this type of stuff if it is going on. Like, you have to think, are you living in a city that is slated to become a smart city? Are you living in an area that is rich in lithium? Are you living in an area that is rich in cattle or something, some kind of natural resource? And if you are, you really need to be prepared and pay attention. And I don't live in any of those areas. Well, I live in Texas, so there's, you know, been fires out in North Texas over the last year. That might continue to be a problem. But regardless, you know, I've been buying these books, you know, for if the electricity goes down or something like that. And I'm continuing to build up a little collection in the event that something happens and I can't just get online and look up what I need to do to figure things out, to MacGyver it. And I think the most important advice that I can give to anyone in this situation is to be spirit-led, really, because weather forecasts are often not accurate, and even these weather warning systems have been known to fail. And again, given the astrology, I can see that happening. So really pay attention, you know, use your intuition to guide you and to know what you need to do specific to your area. Should you move? Should you get out of that area? Or when should you go? You know, there's been some prophecies that within the next 10 years or so, we're going to have an extreme flood event in the United States. And I'm not saying that it's going to happen, right? Entertainment purposes only. You make of it what you will, you pray about it. But there's certain areas right through the United States that are in a danger zone. And I'm not saying that this is going to happen this year, but do be mindful and spirit-led of what's going on that we don't really see. And let God be your GPS in 2025. Be blessed.